Hello friends and welcome to today's vlog. Today I'm going to be reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time. I am so excited. So in this video I'm going to be starting with the first book, The Fellowship of the Ring. I remember when I was younger I was watching the Lord of the Rings movies and I loved them so much. I was absolutely obsessed. But to be honest, it has been quite a few years since I've seen them and I have not retained any of the information from the movies, so I don't really know too much about the plot of these books, surprisingly, which I feel like is the best case scenario. I actually last night already started and I read the prologue, which the prologue of this book is basically like a history of hobbits and kind of a general account of who are the hobbits and what they do, how they live, where they live. And I have to say that it is a little bit dense on the history and like the geographical location where hobbits are within this world. It did feel a little bit like I was actually reading a textbook for class, but I know that once I go into the main story it's not gonna feel like that. I'm very excited to actually jump into the main story and experience it for the first time. So I'm going to sit down, start reading, and I will check in with you guys once I do a bit more progress in the book. Hello friends, welcome back. I decided to do a very quick check-in. I'm about 100 pages into the Fellowship of the Ring. I'm enjoying my time reading this book so much. I am so surprised by it. Like, it's really not what I expected. It's not that I didn't expect that I was gonna like it, because you know I love fantasy and this is like a fantasy classic that so many people love, so I knew I was most likely going to enjoy it. It's just I think it's very different to what I was expecting it to be. So one thing that I completely did not expect is how humorous it is. Like, it is so funny. I am enjoying the writing style of Tolkien so much. It's kind of written, I don't really know how can I explain this very well, but it's almost like a fairy tale for adults type of writing. So it is lyrical and a little complex, but it's easy to understand. It has like that kind of very romantic tone to it. It's beautiful. As you can see here, I read the half of it as a physical book and then the other half I listened as an audiobook, and you can definitely see which parts I read and which parts I listened to, because I have many tabs on the places where I read physically. And also I wanted to talk about the audiobook. Let me open this up. So the audiobook that I am listening to is narrated by Andy Serkis, and it is on Spotify and it is brilliant. Like, honestly, every time I want to read this book, I am torn between whether I want to listen to the audiobook or if I want to read it physically, because both are just so good. And I found myself, whenever I need to do any kind of like small tasks around the house or whatever, anything that allows me to listen to audiobook while I'm doing something, I have been really picking this audiobook up right away instead of like listening to music or watching YouTube on the background. We start at the shrine. We start with Bilbo and his backstory of how he got the ring. And I have to say, hobbits are quite the characters. They're so chaotic and ungrateful and dramatic and funny. I like reading about hobbits so much, honestly. Like, they're interesting creatures. So I wanted to give you some context and like talk about one scene in particular that really stood out. So there is a scene where Gandalf came to Frodo. So Frodo is now in the possession of the ring, which allows you to be invisible, but it's also like the ring that holds the power in this world. And Gandalf is a wizard. He's like one of the wise wizards of this world, and he has been guiding Frodo and Bilbo, his predecessor, as well. Gandalf comes to him and he tells him that he needs to take a ring and then go somewhere far from the shrine, because it seems like the evil is coming back to the world. Frodo is asking him, what should be my quest? Bilbo went to find a treasure, there and back again, but I go to lose one and not return as far as I can see. And then Gandalf replies, "But you cannot see very far." It's so funny. And then like after that he says, "Neither can I." So at least this justifies. But he has called hobbits stupid multiple times. And it's very funny, like to their faces. They're like, "You're lovely creatures, but you're stupid." And so in that same scene, Frodo is asking Gandalf for advice where he's supposed to go to get rid of that ring. In the meantime, what course am I to take? And then Gandalf replies, "Towards danger, but not too rashly, nor too straight." And it's just, I don't know, it's like a balancing of that like high stakes fantasy world, but at the same time so much humor, but there is also like wisdom intertwined within that humor, and there is like some seriousness about this world getting darker as they go along their journey as well. And yeah, I wanted to say that I'm having a great time. It is so fun to read so far. As of right now, I'm at the part where Frodo, Sam and Pippin, the third hobbit, they went off on their journey to get rid of the ring. I am loving the character of Sam so much. Like, he's so sweet. He has so much respect for Frodo, so he's like very much just trying to do his best to serve him the best that he can, which is very cute. Pippin is a complainer. Let me tell you, like every 5 seconds he's like, are we there yet? Can we stop now? I'm tired. Which I love. Anyways, I just wanted to do a very quick check-in and let you know that I am enjoying it. This is such a great read so far, and I will keep you updated on how it goes further. So it is now a couple of days later, and I have made quite a bit of progress in The Lord of the Rings. I am now halfway through the book. Actually, I think I'm over halfway through, and I am loving this book so much. And I reached the point where it is so hard to put this book down. I actually was planning on updating you a little earlier before I reached halfway point, but I just could not stop reading. And as you can see by the amount of tabs that I have on this book, I'm enjoying it so much. This book is absolutely not what I thought it was going to be. Like, my imagining of what The Lord of the Rings is versus this actual book are two completely different things, and I am being so pleasantly surprised. This is so much more romantic and charming than I expected it to be. This book is absolutely delightful. The amount of humor that is in this book is insane. If you told me a week ago before I picked this book up that I would be reading The Lord of the Rings and like giggling and kicking my feet, I would not believe you. But actually, this is exactly what's happening. This is making me laugh and like giggle more than any like cute romance or whatever else. This is so funny, but also this is so joyful, and it's just an incredible time. So I'm currently at the point where Frodo is off on his adventure with a couple of companions. I'm gonna keep it vague, but then I will have a section where I will do more spoilers. So far it is so much more character driven than I expected, and I'm absolutely loving it. I love the hobbits. I know at the beginning I was laughing at them, but actually I absolutely love them. They're such sweet creatures, and they're absolutely so loyal and so kind and incredible. Love it so much. And also all of the other characters as well. We do get many new characters. Oh, I almost stabbed myself because I have a pencil as a bookmark. I should not be doing that. It is also very atmospheric, which I don't think I expected this book to be this atmospheric. I would say there were a couple of moments more towards the beginning of the book that I did find a little bit boring, just a bit. Specifically, there was a chapter with Tom Bombadil. Basically, Frodo goes off the road to take a shortcut and he meets a person, but that person, at least so far, doesn't really play any role in the main narrative. Those were the only chapters when I was a little bored, but besides that, the rest of it is incredible. And now that I made it to book 2, I'm actually at the part where I cannot put this book down because I am intrigued, so intrigued. We're about to be introduced to so many new characters, and I am just loving it so much. And so far my favorite character is Sam. He's so loyal, he's such an incredible friend, but at the same time he's like very curious, and he's not perfect, but he is amazing, and I love him so much. Anything happens to Sam, my heart is going to be broken. So there is one scene that I want to show you that I think very well describes the hobbits. It is just before they set off on their journey. Basically Frodo is telling them that I don't know whom I can trust, and I don't know if you should be coming along with me. He's very conflicted, and he's very much burdened by this inheritance that he got from his uncle, the ring that he got. And he's the type of character who is not ready to be the hero of the story. He's not really ready to be the main character, so it burdens him very much having the ring and having to go on this quest. And there is a lot of conflict in him, because on one hand he knows that he has to do it and he feels his responsibility over the ring, but at the same time it's a life that he never chose. So it's a very interesting exploration of accepting your fate for whatever it is, even if it's something that you would never choose for yourself. But anyway, before he goes on, so he tells them that he is not sure if they should come, to which Merry replies to him, "You can trust us to stick to you through thick and thin, to the bitter end, and you can trust us to keep any secret of yours closer than you keep it yourself. But you cannot trust us to let you face trouble alone and go off without a word. We're your friends, Frodo. We are horribly afraid, but we are coming with you, or following you like hounds." I absolutely love the hobbits. I love their loyalty. And even though they definitely have their quirks, they're such adorable characters, and I absolutely love following their journey. I also wanted to give a couple of spoilery snippets, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers at all, please just skip. I'm gonna put a chapter down below so you can skip all of the spoilers, but yes, warning, this is a spoiler section. So the part that I just stopped at is Rivendell. Frodo just arrived at Rivendell and he just met Gandalf again, and I am loving Rivendell so far. I mean, we haven't actually seen too much of Rivendell yet, but I'm so excited. I did not know that I would be so excited to see the elves, but I'm so excited. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm alternating between the audiobook and the physical book, and the audiobook is incredible. It's probably one of the best audiobooks I ever listened to. And then the narrator, the way that he talks in the elf tongue, Elvish, is that what it's called? The way that he pronounces their language is so fun, and I'm absolutely loving it, and I really want to see more elves. I did not know that I would be obsessed with elves, but here I am. I hope Frodo can make good allies with the elves, and they're going to be a big part of the story, because yeah, as of right now, I'm absolutely loving them so much. And also another snippet that I wanted to share. So before they got to Rivendell, Frodo and the company stopped at an inn, and the keeper of the inn is Butterbur, and it turned out that Gandalf was at this same place, and he left a letter for Frodo that Butterbur was supposed to deliver to the Shire, but that never happened. And so in the letter, Gandalf is talking a lot about many serious things. He's talking about Strider, who, by the way, that's a new character that got introduced, and I love the Strider so much. Strider needs to be protected at all costs. Anyway, so Gandalf is talking about serious things. He's talking about the ring, about Strider, and then he goes PS, and then more advice, PPS, and then more advice about Strider, PPPS. I hope Butterbur sends this promptly. A worthy man, but his memory is like lumber room. Thing wanted, always buried. If he forgets, I shall roast him. Farewell. hello, it is time for another update. I am now on page 425, so I am just a little over 100 pages away from finishing this book, and I'm still very much enjoying it. However, I think I now have a bit of a better opinion about it, rather than, I feel like all of my previous updates, they were very much just me being very excited, and now I feel like I know better how I feel about this book. So let me go into it. So last time that I updated you, I was about halfway through the book, and I was at the part where they reached Rivendell, and I think I was just about like a chapter away from the council, which is, I think, is the most like fundamental chapter of this entire book, because it is the chapter where basically everyone decides that the ring has to be destroyed, and Frodo is going to be the one to take the ring to Mordor to try to destroy it. That chapter was honestly very dense. It had so many names. It had so much lore of the world dropped in this one chapter that I did feel like I was confused for a lot of it. And I honestly think still, even though I made so much more progress, I think I will actually listen to that chapter again on audiobook to really understand all of the details of what happened within the council, because there was so much information of like background of different characters, where they come from, some past history that I didn't know until that point. It was dense, so I think I need to listen to it again. And something that I have been noticing about this book is that it is very dense in world building at some points. I actually didn't feel it that much at the beginning of the book, but that chapter that council really sent me off the spiral, because it is a lot, and especially in terms of names. So there are so many names for different places, and even some characters go by multiple names. It did get overwhelming at times, and I had to Google some of the characters, who they are, but I think now I'm pretty much caught up and I understand what is going on. And another thing that I noticed about this book that is a bit of my criticism is the fact that all of the directions are given in the way of, this is to the south, this is to the west, northwest, southeast, whatever that may be. But there is so much of it, and Tolkien talks so much about like the spatial relationship of where places are towards each other, that you would think that over explaining it makes it easy to understand, but I personally felt like I was completely spatially unaware of where we are in this world at some point. And interestingly, a lot of fantasies, they have maps, of course, and I love looking at those maps, but usually what happens to me personally is that I look at the map before I start the book, and then I read the book, and I rarely actually refer to the map while I'm reading the book. But then after I finish, I go back and look at it, because now that I know the story, it's interesting to kind of envision this world once again and look at the map again. But this is the case where there is a map of the Middle Earth, and I keep referring to it all of the time. Like every 10 pages I need to open the map, and I literally had to doodle on the map and be like, okay, they are here right now, okay, they're moving here, they need to go there. Like I actually need to understand what is going on, and I constantly need to refer back to the map, which is just like an interesting experience. But it's not like a bad thing at all, it's just different compared to many of the other fantasies that I have read. But something that I found was helping me a lot to get through those moments when I would get overwhelmed by world building is listening to the audiobook. As I said previously, the audiobook is fantastic. It actually makes it so much easier to understand, because also the way Tolkien writes, as I mentioned also before, it's not like a straightforward sentence. There are some ways that he kind of goes about the point that he's making, or like the character is making a point, but not saying things directly. And sometimes I found myself being a little lost when I read physically, and when I do so, I listen to the audiobook and I feel like I get back on track of understanding what is going on. As for the events, we are now following the Fellowship of the Ring. So the Fellowship of the Ring is the party that is accompanying Frodo to Mordor to try to destroy the ring. And we got new characters introduced. I am enjoying all of the characters so much. This is very much a character-driven fantasy, and I was thinking, what makes this character so endearing? Because, for example, the two new characters were introduced, like 100 pages ago, and I already feel very attached to them and I like them very much. And I think it is the fact that all of these characters, they're good characters, but they're all flawed. But the way their flaws are written is with so much humor and love that it makes them so likable and endearing. For example, Gandalf, he joined this party because he essentially said that this party needs a brain and he's going to be that brain. So he's taking a role as this wise intelligence part of the party, which is slightly offensive to everyone else, but okay. And even though he's very wise, he doesn't have very good temper. And he has a very interesting relationship with the hobbits, because on one hand he's fascinated by hobbits, but at the same time he is so annoyed by them all of the time too. Not specifically Frodo, but everyone else. And it is just so funny. There is a moment when they essentially try to cross. There are mountains called Misty Mountains. They try to cross them, but they cannot because of the weather. So they have to go under the mountains through underground passages, and in order to get there you need to find a secret door. So Gandalf finds this door, and he's the one who persuades everyone to actually go through this very dangerous path. And then as they get to the door, it turned out that Gandalf actually doesn't know how to open it, and everyone obviously starts questioning him, are you okay? Why did you not tell us that you do not know how to open it? And as he's trying to figure it out, and everyone else already asked him why he doesn't know the password, Pippin is the one who asks, what are you going to do then? And Gandalf replies, knock on the doors with your head, Peregrine Took, said Gandalf. But if that does not shatter them, and I am allowed a little peace from foolish questions, I will seek for the opening words. And I just love how even the wise one of this party constantly loses his temper. He's not perfect, and that's what makes all of these characters so endearing and so lovable. And then later on, it's pretty much literally the same day when they actually open the secret door, and then they go through the passage and they stop by a well. Pippin again has an urge to throw a rock inside the well, and he does that, and that creates a noise. Gandalf doesn't like that, so he goes, fool of a Took, he growled. This is a serious journey, not a hobbit walking party. Throw yourself in the next time, and then you will be no further nuisance. Now be quiet. And honestly, I'm really loving this entire group dynamics. All of them bicker between each other over some small things. It's just very funny, and it is enjoyable to read about their relationship. And I do really feel I'm worried about what's going to happen after, because I'm so scared that something is going to happen to any of these characters. I fear it might, but I'm not emotionally ready for it. I actually only read 10 more pages since I last spoke to you. So I finished chapter 5 of book 2, and I read through the iconic moment when Gandalf shouts, "You shall not pass." Although in the book he says, "You cannot pass." And can you tell me, how is it that I watched the movies and I remember this scene from the movies, of course, because it is such an iconic scene, there are so many memes about it, and yet I did not remember what happens after that, and it has hit me like a train. Some emotional damage has been done. I'm not okay. What do you mean? I'm not okay. I'm so sad. I did not expect it at all. I have no idea how my brain just selectively decided to erase whatever happens after from a memory. But yeah, this book is getting emotional, but I am loving the ending of this book. I feel like pacing has picked up so much towards the end of it, so I only have just under 100 pages left. I will let you know my final thoughts once I finish it. It's time for the final update and to wrap up this vlog. I just finished The Fellowship of the Ring. I absolutely love this book so much. Look at all of my colorful tabs in it. It was such an incredible experience. It was honestly very different to what I was expecting it to be, and this book surprised me in many ways. Specifically, I absolutely loved the character work. All of these characters are so lovable and you get attached to them so fast. The events of the ending of this book, I really loved how how it ended. However, I really hope that we get to see a lot of the characters that are present in the first book in the second one as well, and that we see kind of broader world, not just Frodo's journey. Also, I think the writing of this book is incredible. It's very lyrical, very atmospheric. It has a very unique tone that, as I mentioned at the beginning, it kind of feels almost like a fairy tale. You can easily get lost in this writing and in this world, and it's such a joy to be in this world. I would have to say that it is at times difficult on world building, and it is very descriptive at times as well. And I do think it definitely had some moments that were not essential to the plot and were getting a little too descriptive. There were a couple of moments where I felt like I was getting a bit bored, but then it would pick back up. So the pacing was a little on and off, and I do know that that is something that is just very unique and very specific to J.R.R. Tolkien, that he is very descriptive in his writing and he really likes to go into all of the detail, which on one hand sometimes it can feel like it's a little too much, like a little too dense, but also on the other hand, this world is so well detailed that it feels so real, and I think that's why the characters are so likable and you get attached to them so much. But also it is such an enjoyable and immersive read because it is so well thought out and so well developed. It has so much detail, so much lore, so much history about everything. Like, it feels like a very complete, full-on world, which I really appreciated, and I had a great fun with it. And also in terms of writing, it had so many funny moments. It was so humorous that I really enjoyed. I personally really vibed with the sense of humor of Tolkien, and I had such a great time. So many moments made me giggle, and I really enjoyed those like comic relief moments, while at the same time the stakes are really high and everything is getting kind of serious and more dark. I'm very interested to see what happens in books 2 and 3. I do have a feeling that it's going to get so much darker and so much deeper as we go towards like the continuation and the conclusion of the story, and I'm really worried about it, because something that, even though this book is really funny at times, at the same time also Tolkien doesn't shy away from really dark and sad moments. And then there is one particular thing that happens in this book that I think it's quite unexpected, especially for the first book in a trilogy. It's kind of a big turning point for all of the characters, but I enjoyed it. I like the fact that Tolkien doesn't shy away from that either. In general, it was a great time, and it feels like such an accomplishment to finish this book. It's not that long of a book, it's just over 500 pages, at least in my edition. However, because the pacing is not very linear, it feels like kind of a longer book than it is, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely feels like a big accomplishment finishing this first book. I am very excited to go into books 2 and 3, although, as I said, I'm also very nervous and I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared for it, but I'm very curious to continue this trilogy and see how it goes. So that concludes today's vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around. If you made it this far, I'm pretty sure it's a really long vlog, so thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Please let me know down in the comments if you have read The Lord of the Rings. If you have, what you thought of it. If you haven't, are you planning on? Is that something that interests you? I would love to chat to you in the comments, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!